I don't want to brag, but I think you may be looking at the best Macintosh 2CI in the history of mankind. The Bernoulli drive on the side is not included. So what do we got here? This is a 2CI with 32 megabytes of memory installed, and it has a SCSI to SD hard drive in it. That's a silicon hard drive, and it comes with 3 SD cards. One is in it right now, and it has System 6.0.8 on it, and there are also cards included for 7.1 and 7.5, and each card has a selection of appropriate applications. So I've installed a bunch of useful things that are kind of hard to track down. I installed the extension for zip drive, so although the zip drive is not included, you can attach a zip drive to this and it will work out of the box. You don't have to chase down any drivers for it. And let's take a look at the hard drive. So we've got, well, first of all, it's got a network card in it, and it's not just any network card, it's a network card that'll work with a 10100 hub. Older network cards are not visible to 10100 hubs. If you buy, for instance, an IIci MCNB card and plug it into a modern hub, the light on the hub won't, the port light won't light up. However, I tracked down the right card for use with modern equipment, and this is it. We can see the laser printer that's right behind me over the network. And let's see, as long as we're talking about internet, now you can't really do much internet stuff with System 6.0.8. There's one browser that works, and it's pretty darn boring. All it will do is display text, and so I can click back and forth. It does not display inline images, but we are getting out onto the internet to view those pages. Yeah, quit. Alright, however, there are some other internet applications that are kind of useful. For instance, Fetch. Let me log in. Alright, I'm not typing fast today. So here we go. We just logged into this. And so if we go into here, this is where I've been stashing all the software that I've been putting on my computers that I've been fixing up. So that's pretty cool. So you've got a working FTP client, Fetch 3.03. Fetch 2.12 is also included. It won't work with my FTP server though. It doesn't have passive mode. 3.03 has passive mode, and it's turned on, and it works fine with TerraNet's FTP servers. I'm not sure who else's servers it works with and doesn't work with, but I've got it working. So then we've got a whole bunch of applications: BBEdit, Excel 4.0, Excel 2.2, Helix Express, Quick Basic, Stuffit, TeachText, ZTerm. I won't demonstrate all of these, but they all work unless they have a note like MacDraw 1.7, not SE30. It won't work. Same thing here. MacDraw 3.2 won't work, but MacDraw 2 and MacDraw Pro will work. MacPaint 1.5 works, but you have to go in and set the monitor to black and white. So you have to set it to grays and black and white for MacPaint 1.5 to work. But then I've also got MacPaint 2.0, and I've noted that it's awful. What I don't like about it is that the toolbars are hidden up here in the menu, and if you want to use them you got to tear them off. But they're kind of wide. I'd prefer that they be 2 columns wide so that you can stand them up along the edge of the screen. As they are, they take up too much screen space, but that's just me. Anyhow, so MacPaint 2.0. Then we've got games, 99 bottles of beer.
99 bottle of beer on the wall. 99 bottle of beer. Take one down, pass it around. 98 bottle of beer on the wall. Take one down, pass it around.
5,550,000,000, 5,550,000,000, 5,550,000,000,
bottle of beer.
The ultimate unproductivity application. Then eyes. With multi-finder on, you can have eyes in the corner of the screen running, watching your mouse while you're doing other things. Flight simulator, of course, that works. It's a little, it's not like, the graphics aren't super awesome on a CI. Hellcats is a really awesome game. It works great. Except I can't seem to shoot down the bomber. Life, that doesn't really work here. Load Runner is pretty awesome, but you can't touch the screen with the mouse. You have to do everything in keyboard mode, but it works fine in keyboard mode. Didn't take me long to get killed. As you can hear, the sound works. That's not always the case on Mac CIs. Now this CI has had its motherboard recapped. That's pretty important. So it's good to go for many years to come. Mr. Ed, Music Works does not work on the CI. Sound Edit Pro, this is kind of cool. It was really cool in, you know, when it came out in like '88 or whatever. Now it's a little less cool, but I still like it. Here we go, Green Acres. Alright, and Talking Moose, that is irritating. It puts a little moose at the upper left hand corner of the screen that makes wisecracks. So we looked at Fetch already, Mac www, Telnet and Eudora. Eudora probably won't work with most modern POP servers, but it's there, and Telnet will only work with insecure servers that will accept insecure connections. Then we've got some versions of McWrite, McWrite 4.6, McWrite 2, and McWrite Pro, and then there's some documents there. And we've got PageMaker. PageMaker throws a little error on startup, and I couldn't figure out how to make that go away, but it works fine. Then we've got Quark and several versions of Ready Set Go. And here we can open a Ready Set Go document just for fun. It errors out at the beginning because there's a document, there's a linked document that is not present on the hard drive, and that's only specific to this particular document. So it's kind of ugly looking on the screen, but it prints. Just thinking about it. There we go. So that'll come out of the printer in a couple seconds. Then we've got utilities. Now there's a bunch of stuff in here that may or may not work. This is kind of unimportant stuff, and so if it crashes, that's how you know it doesn't work. I don't remember what crashes here. There's a couple things that don't work, but there's a set of 6.08 install disks here. You can copy these over to floppies so that you have a backup set. Oh, about the floppy drive has been torn down, cleaned, had its eject gear replaced, and carefully lubricated and rebuilt. Should last for a very long time. The two important things here are IIci setup 7.3.5 patched. You use that to initialize non-Apple hard drives, and the SCSI to HD drive is a non-Apple hard drive. Then there's Lido, which does the same thing, but IIci is much better, much more stable. I do not recommend putting multiple partitions on these SD cards. Just initialize the card, don't make any partitions, and everything works great. When you start getting complicated is when things get funny. I gotta put paper in the printer just a sec. Alright, so there's a bunch of utilities there. Z-term is also included. That's in a different folder though. I guess that must be in Applications General. Then we got some fonts and Basic. This is cool. There's a couple different versions of Microsoft Basic if you want to program. Then there's some clip art files and whatnot. And there's some extensions that may or may not be useful to you. Pyro is the screensaver, and Pyro has two parts, Pyro modules and Pyro. And then we've got Mac TCP, set date. That's about all that's there. Let's take a look at the control panel. There's some good stuff there. So we got Mac TCP. That's all set up. It's got a static IP address and got the gateway and DNS set up. It's working fine. Monitors, not many options. You can control how much memory is allocated to the monitor. You can reduce the number of grays and colors and free up memory if you want. Network, we can either use the local talk port on the back or EtherTalk. The local talk port does work. I connected the local talk port to Ethernet via this Asante micro Asante print. You see it's got a local talk input and an Ethernet output, and I was able to print to my printer using that over the local talk port. That's pretty cool. And my battery may die here, so if there's an interruption, that's why. We were looking at control panels. Network, Power Central. So we've got, this is critically important, there's a 40 megahertz cache card in here, an accelerator card. That really makes this CI scream compared to other CIs. And here's the control panel for Pyro. Pyro, you can turn it on by putting the mouse in the upper right hand corner, or you can disable it by putting the mouse in the lower right hand corner. SCSI probe shows us the SCSI devices that are on the SCSI bus. So we've got the SCSI to SD is at 0, the zip drive that's not included is at 5, and the computer is at 7. Set date, this is really important. It allows you to set the date after 2019. Without set date, the year after 2019 is 1920. And sound works correctly. It's not the case on many CIs. And I don't know what else to show you here. I guess we'll move on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut the computer down. Alright, I'm going to set these two chips aside here. Remember, the mouse pad's not included. The monitor is. It's a very nice monitor. There's 4 buttons on the side here. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. The buttons don't seem to work on this monitor. I've got about 5 of these monitors, and the buttons work on some and not on others. I chose this one because it's in really good shape, and the fact that the buttons don't work doesn't really matter. I figured you'd probably want one in really good shape as opposed to a beat up one with working buttons. So there, we've swapped the cards. The way this is installed is kind of important. We've got a 3 connector cable. So we've got the motherboard on one connector, the SCSI to SD on another connector, and then we've got a hardware terminator here. So we're not using the software termination on the SCSI to SD card, and the reason for that is that it turns out to be kind of flaky and unreliable. So it's off, and we're working with something that is 100% reliable all the freaking time. This CI has something that a lot of CIs don't have, and that is the screw at the bottom of the drive housing. Most are missing the screw, and this one has the screw. Here's the Daystar card, our SIMs, and this is the Ethernet card. So let's go ahead and put the lid back on. Oh, and look, there's a drive LED that works. That's pretty cool. Okay, so now we're on 7.1. Cue the Jeopardy music here. Okay, so now this is going to boot in 24-bit mode, because to run 6.0.8 you have to set the computer in 24-bit memory addressing mode. So we're going to start it, and then we're going to change it to 32 and restart it again quick. There we go. Alright, so same extensions, control panels, whatever. So now we're going to go to control panels and memory and turn on 32-bit addressing, restart. And I'll wait a second, but I'll push the Bernoulli, push the zip disk in just to demonstrate that it works. Okay, there we go. There's our zip drive, all full of stuff. We'll throw that away, don't need that. So what do we got here? Control panels. This has got a whole bunch of additional control panels because it's System 7. The same things are present though. Power Central, 40 megahertz. Last 40 megahertz card that I saw on eBay sold for about $689, I think. SCSI probe. There are our disks, SCSI to SD, zip, and the computer. I don't know that there's really anything to see here. Brightness. Some control panels don't do anything. So, like that. You could take that and put it in the unused control panels folder. So we'll go ahead and go to the chooser. Make sure we see our laser printer. Yep, laser printer's there. Now let's take a look at the applications. It's pretty much the same stuff as on 6.08, except that there's more to the internet. What can we do here? There's a whole bunch of programs in this folder here that came on a disk with some internet starter book. But what's really interesting is Netscape. So if you start up Netscape, this version, so now it's going to gripe about Java. I'm not sure how to resolve its complaint about Java. Only this version of Netscape gripes about Java. But anyhow, so here's the, let's see, there's some images there somewhere. Just waiting for it to download. There we go. So now it starts to download pictures. Anyhow, so that's Netscape. And 2.02 also works. Mac www works but is worthless. And then same thing here with fetch. You can use 3.03 because it's got passive mode. 2.12 not too useful because it doesn't have passive mode. And all the other applications are about the same. There's a couple things that don't work on System 7. Can't remember where they are. Nothing important. Anyhow, so we've got basically the same applications, fonts, extensions, utilities. Well, those belong in the utilities folder. Oops, I guess they're already there. Okay, so that's System 7.1. And then we've also got System 7.5, and that tour is about the same as 6.08 and 7.1, so we won't waste time on that. What else should I tell you here? So the computer comes with a generic black power cord, a curly cord, a keyboard 2, nice ADB mouse 2 with Teflon present, and the 3 SanDisk chips, one for each operating system. nice monitor, good shape. We were going to talk about the buttons. So the most important button does work, auto select. This centers the screen and chooses I don't know, it gets rid of noise. So you might start out with some motion, some kind of banding in the screen, and you press this button and it does something to stabilize the screen and make it look great. The other things, the other buttons not working, menu button not working, plus, well, maybe I should say they're intermittent. So I don't know what those buttons really, how they matter, because the screen setting is fine, and you have the ability to auto center and everything by pressing that button. So the thing is that it's really hard to get LCD monitors to work with old Macs, and so the fact that this monitor is working with Mac is a little bit miraculous to begin with. I had to spend a great deal of time buying different monitor adapters and trying different settings to find settings that work. I spent about, two afternoon evenings on this. I probably spent like 20 hours on that. And so what we've got here is a monitor adapter that works properly with this monitor. It works well, it's stable, and I have just absolutely no complaints about it. The only complaint I have is that to get this set up, I had to spend like 150 bucks on different monitor adapters, screwing around with them. The Ethernet card has AUI port and an RJ45 port, and I don't know what else to say about that. The computer's got a couple little, it's impossible to, there, you can see that. If I get the angle just right, you can see that there's a bit of a scratch there. Monitors have been sitting on top of this. It's gotten bumped, it's gotten scratched. It's a little yellow, but it's a damn fine Macintosh 2CI.